No. All right, Men of the Diet Tribe. We have day 5 video coming at you. So you should be waking up in the morning and watching this. So we've kind of already discussed a lot about the carnivore diet, how to do the carnivore diet, how to do any diet well. I talked about the whole insulin resistance thing and making sure we're taking in enough salt. Today is going to be a crappy video because we're talking about poop. That was for you, Adam and Robert. But it is an important topic, and obviously we've been getting some questions on it. So what I wanted to do today is just kind of give you a crash course in your stools and what they should look like, if they're healthy or not, and then, of course, apply it to what we're doing with this first week, and I would even say a couple weeks with not a ton of fiber in the diet. So, typical poop, healthy poop, what it should look like. We want to be going 1 to 4 times daily, depending on how much you're eating, of course. Early morning, having an early morning bowel movement is healthy. And then after each meal that you eat that particular day is a typical healthy rhythm. In terms of color, it should be brown. We don't want really any other color, right? One of the worst ones could be red. If it's red, that means that there's blood in your stool, which is a problem. That's pointing you to some type of significant inflammation or ulcers or some sort of disease process going on in your body. Or if it's black, that means it's higher up in your digestive tract, which would also be a problem. Things like green, yellow could point to infections, could point to gallbladder issues, lack of production of the bile that's being produced by the body. So those could all be issues, and we don't want any of that stuff happening. But why is it important that you would actually have these bowel movements? So daily bowel movements are going to decrease microbial load, microbes being bacteria, viruses, parasites, all that stuff. So all that stuff builds up in us. If we're eliminating often, and that's just going to decrease the load that's there. And if they decrease the load, then there's less chance of those microbes, those pathogens causing us issues. It's also going to decrease what are called endotoxins. So a lot of these microbes, bacteria, they release toxins in the body. And when those toxins get released in the body, of course, it could cause damage to our tissues. It could cause inflammation, which can then cause further issues down the road. It's also going to help us decrease inflammation just all over our body. The more backed up we are, if we're not eliminating properly, that's just going to lead to just significant inflammation throughout the body. It could calm the nervous system. When you're not having regular bowel movements, your body is kind of it's in that fight or flight response, which irritates the brain, irritates the nervous system. So calming that through regular bowel movements is huge. It can increase energy. Maybe some of you that if you've struggled with constipation in the past, you know how it can just zap your energy of always having that, always being impacted. Mental clarity is another one. There's this gut-brain connection. So when there's something going on with the gut, it's negatively going to affect the brain. And then the other way around, if the gut is healthy, brain should also be healthy. And then those people that are in chronic pain more than likely have something going on with their digestive system not eliminating properly. So you maybe have heard of the Bristol scale. This is just something that was determined over in England. They came up with this scale of what your actual poop should look like. So if you're somebody who typically deals with constipation, you more than likely have type 1 or type 2. Type 1, hard, separate lumps, difficult to pass. That's a pretty clear sign that you are constipated. And then number 2, maybe it's not hard and difficult to pass, but it's very lumpy and separate lumps. That's also going to be problematic. Now, why is this a big deal? Well, constipation is a problem in itself. It can be very uncomfortable for you, but it also, none of this stuff is happening. And when this stuff isn't happening, now we're going towards more inflammation in the body, more chronic pain in the body. Obviously, nervous system is always kind of turned on and excited. And then it could also even lead to things like inflammatory bowel disease, even cancers, colorectal cancer. Constipation is a huge sign of that. So where we want to be is the normal type 3 or type 4, so sausage-like with slight cracks if we have any, but the ideal is type 4, so soft, easy to pass, smooth, snake-like, right? It should all be connected, should not be a problem, right? So basically as it's going through your digestive tract, it should be sticking together. When you eliminate it, it should stay the same. That's what it should be like. So if you're not here, then you're in either constipation or this last one is what we would call diarrhea. So types 5 through 7 are that. So the first kind of level of it would just be, is it soft, which is good, but then does it separate? Does it not stay one unit? That's a first sign of diarrhea. And then, of course, these are the ones that people probably know about. If it's just mushy stool, liquidy stool in any way, it is diarrhea. And then, of course, if there's no solids at all, it's all watery, that's a severe form of diarrhea. And most of the time, this can also come with, unless it's like some sort of infection, right, an acute issue. If this is chronic, then it comes with the blood in the stools, which I already mentioned is problematic. So this is kind of, if you were eating a normal, healthy diet, what we're going to get to right after week 6, where we have this kind of this ideal human diet, this diet where we're enjoying all the foods that God's created for us to eat. We still want to be type 3, type 4. What we're in now is obviously somewhat of an extreme version of that diet. We're going just salt, just water, and just meat or eggs, right? We haven't even added in the other animal products like dairy. So with that, there's not going to be any sort of what's called insoluble fiber. And that insoluble fiber is what gives your stool, it's what allows it to form well and get to this spot here where we're like sausage-like, gives it its bulk, so that the normal bowel movements that I'm sure we've all have had is why that happens. So when you're on this type of diet, which we're all doing right now, it's common for you to decrease the amount so your frequency could lower, and the amount of elimination that of each time you're having a bowel movement, that could also decrease. And the reason being is because we don't have any of this fiber is the biggest thing. When you're eating only meat, your body's absorbing about 90 to 95% of that, so it doesn't have much to eliminate. The body is absorbing it through the small intestine. How it typically works is you absorb the nutrients from the small intestine, you pass on what you don't to the large intestine, and that's what you're eliminating. So if our body's absorbing most of it in the small intestine, there's not much to pass on in the large intestine, so you might not have a lot to eliminate. But there's still potentially going to be something like diarrhea. Maybe that is a change that's happened since being on this diet. More than likely, that's for a couple different reasons. Number one, I would say, is you might just that change, the body's trying to adapt, right? You potentially are taking in more fat than you normally would, and that's what can lead to diarrhea. Your body just hasn't caught up and produced enough bile and knows how to work with the diet that you're giving it right now. But second to that is when you are eating kind of standard American diet, even if it's a healthier version of diet with all the foods that we can enjoy, your microbiome, so the bacteria that's in your gut, is going to be different than what it is now because you're eating only meat. So that change could also cause your body to eliminate more quickly and more watery stools like diarrhea. So it shouldn't last. It shouldn't even last you this whole week. If it does, that also could be normal. But once we start adding in some of these other foods, getting some more soluble fiber, prebiotic fiber, all this stuff should form the stools more, and the diarrhea should go away. If you're on the other end where you're at constipation, then that could either be actual constipation. Maybe you already dealt with constipation before starting this diet, and now it's just been exacerbated by what we're doing. But that could mean that you're either not taking in enough fat, or your body's not producing the right amount of bile, or your gallbladder function is just very poor, and you're not able to produce the stuff necessary to pass the stool along. It could be a number of different things. Again, I would wait it out. I would continue doing what you're doing. If it is constipation, then more than likely that's pointing to something that's a bigger deal, which just doing what we're doing for the next 6 weeks should be the answer to that anyway. It's going to fix a lot of that once you come out, we'll get on the other side of this 6 weeks and eliminating all the processed foods and stuff that we're typically taking in. Last thing I'll say on this is, just because maybe you are not going the 3-4 times a day, even though you might be eating 3-4 times a day, that's back to we're not taking in a lot of stuff that our body is not absorbing. So I wouldn't worry about that. I wouldn't think that that's actual constipation because you're not going as often. Even some people might not go at all in a day and go once every other day with this particular diet. So that's not something to actually be concerned about. I would be more concerned about it if it lasts beyond what we're doing this particular week. So hopefully that answers all your questions. If you have more of them, just put them in the chat, and we can continue to talk about poop if you would like. All right, guys, you're doing great.